Well, welcome everybody. This is Officiants Online, a virtual forum for AMM ministers and officiants to share their expertise. I'm Marissa, I'm the marketing and events coordinator here at AMM, and today my co-host is Jessica, AMM's editor and artistic lead. She'll be helping out behind the scenes and answering questions in the chat, so please send her a message if you have any technical questions. Today, we are joined by officiant Nico Raineau. Nico is the creative energy behind RomCom Weddings, an officiant business based in Los Angeles. Nico's also an award-winning film director and screenwriter with a career focus in romantic comedies. He brings that same passion to the wedding ceremonies and can find the romantic comedy and meet cute in every couple's love story. Today, Nico's going to be talking to us about how to market your maverick and how to call in what makes you stand out as a wedding officiant. After his presentation, we'll open things up for a question and answers. So we'll go ahead and throw this over to Nico. You are welcome to screen share when you have the chance.
All right, I've got a little slideshow for everybody today, but I mostly am just gonna chat with you in this forum. First of all, thank you all for being here. The fact that anyone cares about anything that I have to say is very humbling. So I appreciate you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. As was the introduction, my name is Nico Raineau. I'm a professional officiant based in Los Angeles, California. Yes, the name of my business is RomCom Weddings, and you've heard a little bit of the background, but the reason I really focused in on calling my wedding business RomCom Weddings is something that we'll get into in a few minutes, and it's kind of a big focus of what we're going to be talking about today. So I started my officiating business in March of 2022. So I'm sure some of you are probably thinking, why is someone who's only, with only 2 years of professional experience being given a platform to, educate or share insight with anybody? And that's not only a very good question, but kind of the topic of this talk today. So I can't really speak with the wisdom of folks who have been doing this for decades, right? I tune in for those lectures too and try to have Laura Cannon on speed dial for most of my amateurish questions. But what I can tell you is how to get noticed. It's how to stand out in your market and how to stand out in this industry in any chapter of your business. And here's the good news. All you have to do is be yourself. However, the hard part is you have to figure out how to market yourself in a way that promotes the one cool thing that makes you different from everybody else. And then you capitalize on that. Now, in my opinion, you should name your whole business after that one cool thing, because that is what will make you a maverick in your market. And that's essentially what I've done. So for those of you who aren't familiar with me, I know we just got a little bit of that synopsis from Marissa. Thank you, Marissa. But to kind of prove the point that I'm making, I'm going to do a little humble bragging, but it's for good reason. It's to highlight why I'm speaking to you today about standing out and about getting noticed, and why this is pretty much the only topic I can speak to with some degree of authority in this industry. So when I launched my officiating business, I kid you not, I had only ever officiated one ceremony. One. So after some thoughtful copywriting and with the support of a local booked solid wedding planner, I started booking couples. Shortly thereafter, the International Association of Professional Wedding Officiants interviewed me and gave me one of their quarterly officiant spotlights. Then at Wedding MBA, only 8 months into my business, nearly every industry leader who was speaking at the Officiant Corner had already heard of me. I was then interviewed on 2 podcasts about being a professional wedding officiant. I've been invited to a third. Then American Marriage Ministries interviewed me for their minister feature article. But most importantly, throughout all of that, I have received, 5-star reviews for my couples. I'm on preferred vendors list for some of the best wedding coordinators and venues in LA. And I've earned a lot of referral business in a competitive market. I'm proud to say I'm a busy officiant. And all of that, it's only April of 2024, which means I did most all of that before hitting the 2-year mark in my business. So that's the humble brag portion. But the point is, AMM is now inviting me to speak about how I've gained so much industry recognition so quickly and how others might be able to replicate that success. And guess what? I'm not a witch. There's not some secret potion. I'll leave the spell casting up to fellow officiants Liv Moore and Tara McMullen King. What I've done, anyone can do. And if I've learned anything from this generous and welcoming community, it's that we have to lift each other up, okay? We are not each other's competition. We are each other's support system. So what we are all competing against is actually the lack of awareness from couples and the general public that professional officiants are invaluable to experiencing an unforgettable wedding ceremony. So in my opinion, we can't be each other's competition because none of us currently operate in a marketplace that is adequately aware of the services that we provide, right? Can I get an amen? So I want to share what I've learned with all of you about how best to position and market yourselves in the hopes that your businesses will grow, and in turn, our corner of the industry will flourish, and then we all can benefit from being in demand. So hope that sounds good to everybody. I know there's no call and response here. Everyone's on mute, but I'll dive right in, okay? My trajectory over the past couple of years is the result of really just 3 principles that are marketing mainstays in my business. And every officiant can do this in their own business. I'm not a tease. I'll tell you what they are right now so you don't have to wait, okay? So my 3 marketing mainstays are this. It's brand identity, self-promotion, and unrivaled hospitality. So let's break these down, because the first and arguably the most important, and what I will be spending most of this time talking about, is defining and maintaining brand identity. The reason that I caught the attention of folks and the reason that vendors have added me to their preferred vendors lists so quickly is essentially this. This is my logo. This is my brand identity, right? RomCom Weddings, the romantic comedy wedding officiant. This is my one cool thing, and I have turned it into the basis of my marketing strategy. It's on my Instagram, it's on my website, it's in my email signature. I mean, heck, I even have it on t-shirts that I wear to expos and conferences, right? Are you all familiar with the Marine Corps Rifleman's Creed? This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Well, this is my brand identity. There are many like it, but this one is mine. And it's mine because it's me. This is both who I am and exactly the service that I provide within the marketplace. So Marissa hinted upon it, but here's some context about me. For the past 15 years, I have worked in the movie industry as a screenwriter and a film director. So my specialty within the industry is romantic comedies. I co-wrote a romantic comedy with my wife that I then directed that came out in 2020. And I continue to write screenplays and produce projects in the entertainment business. However, my career was not fulfilling me professionally or personally, and that's why I started my business as a professional officiant. To be honest, it started as kind of a side hustle, and it has very quickly taken over my life, largely because I love doing it so much. But before launching my business, I was trying to figure out what my brand identity might be and how I was going to stand out in the crowded Los Angeles marketplace. I was and still am very aware that there are folks here in SoCal who've been doing this work for decades and don't, but what they cannot, right? What can only I offer? So otherwise, I'm not going to find business because there are plenty of talented folks already doing good work in my area, people that I really admire and respect. So the first question you'll have to ask yourselves if you're trying to stand apart is, what can I offer that fills a gap in the market? Right. So during this process, I was speaking with fellow officiant Marie Burns-Holzer, who was providing me with some guidance and some coaching as I was starting my business. And I remember her asking me what my take on officiating was going to be. And I told her, well, I'm a writer. I will tell the couple's love story. And she said, everyone does that. What else you got? And I thought, well, what else do I got? Nothing. What else is there? And that's when Marie said 6 words that catapulted me into the wedding business. And I give her credit for this every time I speak about it. She said, figure out what makes you weird. So I thought about it, and the answer didn't come quickly, but I realized that what makes me weird is the fact that I write romantic comedies. Nobody else can say that. Right? Nobody else can offer a personalized marriage ceremony written and performed by an award-winning rom-com screenwriter who specializes in telling love stories full of heart and hilarity. That's my one cool thing. So the key to defining your brand identity is figuring out what makes you weird. So if you're tuning in today to learn how to stand out better, then that's something you really got to do. It takes work. It takes thoughtful introspection. It also requires you to research the colleagues in your area to determine what makes them weird, because it's helpful in discerning what makes you different from everyone else. And please, seriously, do not be afraid of leaning into your oddities and idiosyncrasies. Embrace your inner nerd, because you know what? If you are passionate about it, the people who love that thing will find you. In fact, I promise you, they will rejoice that you exist. So don't be afraid of niche. You might worry that it will limit your clientele. It won't, really. I mentioned my pal, like Liv Moore, earlier. She's very vocal about being a pagan officiant. And guess what? She doesn't only marry pagans, right? People see that she's cool and fun and different, and they want that, even if it's not exactly their thing. It's great, but I think you have to lean into your thing in order to be noticed outside of the usual crowd. So have an identity, right? Market yourself through that one specific interest or skill set that brings you joy, that makes you joyful, and people will find you who want to share in that joy. So once you figure out what your one cool thing is, then the next question is how to make it your selling point, right? Now, I suspect that some of my colleagues may disagree with me about this, but I believe that the name of your business should in some way advertise your one cool thing, right? I see a lot of officiants out there, no shade, but their businesses are just their names, like Officiant or Ceremonies by, and then followed by their name. And in my opinion, that doesn't tell prospective clients a whole lot about you, right? Advertising your business with only your name works if you have many years to build your reputation, if you go to every trade show and knock on every venue door in your town. But if you're just getting started or you're looking to kind of rebrand in the digital space, your name is probably not going to be enough. And your name also probably isn't your one cool thing. It's not what makes you weird, right? Except in the case of, legendary weddings, my pal in Florida, whose name is literally Legend Carter. I mean, that is very cool. Only he can capitalize on offering couples literal legendary weddings, and he does very successfully. But the point being that the first thing that a couple discovers about you is the name of your business and your social media handle. So what does that name signal to the couple, right? You have a single fleeting moment to grab their attention and make them think, that officiant seems interesting or fun or awesome. Like, let's go to their website, their Instagram, their not account. Like, does your business name have that effect, right? So I write rom-coms. I tell the couple stories of romantic comedy on their wedding day. I'm the romantic comedy wedding officiant. If you're a witch who offers ceremonies in Salem, Massachusetts, like Tara McMullen King, then you're Witchy Woman Weddings. If you're a gearhead and you want to marry people on motorcycles, like Greg up in Monterey, California, then you're the motorcycle minister. Or even simply, if you just want to entertain folks and make them laugh, then look at my guy, Mark Allen Grolo up in Canada. His business is called Unboring Wedding. It's not complicated, yet it tells you exactly what he's about. And yes, he puts the exclamation point after unboring and before wedding just for extra emphasis. The point is that you don't have to overthink it, right? But you do need to think about it. And you need to make sure, it's important, that the website URL for that business name is still available before naming that your business, right? Building a website is important. You need to corner the market for your one cool thing. So once you've landed on your business name, I also suggest that you design a logo. Okay, when designing my logo, I used 99 Designs. It's a great option if you don't personally know any graphic artists. The 99 Designs website, if you're not familiar, it connects you to graphic designers all across the globe and gives you the option of different price points that grant access to less or more experienced designers. Or you can poke around on the site and find a designer that you like and then hire them individually to work with you. It's really a wonderful resource. So, okay, once you've determined the gap in your market, you define your one cool thing, You name your business to reflect that one cool thing. And then you build your website, design a unique, eye-catching logo that advertises what makes you weird. Now you have your brand identity, okay? So the second marketing mainstay is a phrase that many people, it makes them uncomfortable, but it's a reality. So let's talk about it. Self-promotion, okay? Guess what? You're an entrepreneur. We all own our own small business. We have to self-start and to hustle every day to make a living. So sorry to be the bearer of that bad news, but you're already deep in it. And self-promotion is, I feel it's kind of non-negotiable in this industry, right? And if it makes you uncomfortable, I don't know what to say, because your business, what you are selling to your couple, is you. Let's be honest, as professional officiants, we all basically kind of do the same thing, right? And that might be a controversial thing to say, but we all have different philosophies and different perspectives and different life experiences that we bring to this work. When it comes down to it, the reason you choose someone over someone else is price, but also more importantly, it's the way they make you feel, right? Who are they? Do you trust them? Do you value their craftsmanship? That's what you're selling. That is what you have to put out into the world. So now, not everyone is savvy on TikTok or Instagram. I do recommend it, but the key is to promote yourself where your ideal couple is searching for you. Okay, and let's be honest, the group statistically most likely to get married is folks in their late 20s to late 30s. So yeah, being on social media is important. Now, if referring to yourself as a influencer makes you throw up in your mouth a little bit, then I totally get it. I've been that guy walking through the trade show, circling the venue, 10 minutes before the ceremony starts, filming myself on my phone, apologizing to everyone for how annoying I am. It makes me very uncomfortable, but I do it. I push through. I feel that self-promotion is an unfortunate but necessary part of advertising what makes you different. Right? I have a background in filmmaking, so I make little wedding movies on my phone and post them. You just have to find your lane. The trick with self-promotion is ultimately about finding a form of self-expression that you are comfortable with and that you can commit to consistently, okay? If you're a great designer and want to drive traffic to your website, then do that. If you're a good copywriter and are popular, on the wedding wire, it might be worth, splurging on that premium placement that they have, or leaning into blogging, right? The idea is simply to promote your brand identity where it will best be conveyed, received, and ultimately found by your couples. And here's something important that I also do want to mention. I don't know where my little screen here went, but I can also pop off of screen share when it's relevant. Although now I can't find now that we took that off, I don't know where my thing went. Oh, here, I'll do it this way and just talk to everyone. Okay, so this is something important. When your couples do find you, remember that your self-promotion carries through to that initial consultation. Okay, so when a couple books a consult, they're already interested in you. They are into your brand identity. They have responded to your self-promotion, and now they want to meet you. Okay. At that point, you're not selling your services on a consultation. They already know what you do. What they're shopping for at that point kind of is a friend, right? And quite possibly they might be shopping for you one cool thing. So don't treat the consult as a sales call. It's more like coffee with a new coworker, okay? They more than likely just want to vibe check your personality, and they're already on the call. So they're already more than halfway into booking you. All you have to do now, and this is the most important thing, is to ensure that who you are on that call aligns with who you have promoted yourself to be through your brand identity. So if there's any discrepancy between who you've told them you are and who shows up for that consult, then they're out of there, right? You must show them authenticity and confidence of character. And if your brand identity, and if you and your brand identity match and you show up with presence and joyousness, I mean, you will book that couple, I can almost guarantee it, okay? And when you do that, brings us to the third marketing mainstay, which I'll throw back up here, which is unrivaled hospitality. Okay, your brand identity catches their attention, your self-promotion gets them to book, but it's your unrivaled hospitality that, in my opinion, solidifies your reputation as a remarkable service provider and builds your business. Okay, at the end of the day, our goal really is to leave everyone who was present at that ceremony with an unforgettable memory of the moment we all shared together. And that only really works if you exceed expectation. Okay, you can have a great logo, you can be engaging on social media, but if you don't leave that couple feeling more joyful than they were before they arrived, none of it will matter. Right? We're in the business of creating happy memories. That's my goal, at least. Like, I want couples to have a better experience during their ceremony than they knew was possible. I want them to look back and to feel like they didn't even realize that the bar could be set that high. And you only get that through prioritizing service, humility, and professionalism. So serve the couple, go above and beyond. All right, my officiant buddy Rich at Let's Not and Say We Did gave a great AMM talk about this last year. You know, he had a good tip, which is that after the ceremony, before you walk into the room to sign the marriage license, make sure that you have champagne in hand or the couple's favorite drink to give them upon arrival. Even if their coordinator already has them covered, it shows that you care about their experience and want them to feel celebrated, right? Service. Also, be humble. No matter what, at every turn, remember that this day is not about you. You're just a small part of the couple's very big story. But if you want to be a valued and memorable chapter in that story, then you want to leave the couple with fond and warm memories of your time with them, that you did everything to enrich their experience. And if you don't already, don't stick around too long after the ceremony, right? Say your hellos, do a lap. But then leave everyone wanting more. You want to be the talk of the reception, not the hanger-on who's still chowing down on free crab cakes. So, wow them with your officiating and then make your exit and leave everyone wanting more. And finally, professionalism. Professionalism is what separates us from Uncle Bob, right? So we have to be punctual, communicative, never defensive, try to be open and flexible. And I always remind myself that every ceremony is a collaboration, right? I'm not the boss, but we are the CEO of the ceremony. But we also have to know our role with diplomacy and friendly collaboration with the coordinator and the venue and all the other vendors. Just remember that, you know, your couple is in charge, not their parents, but the couple. And guess what? These guidelines do not only apply to the couple. All of this includes your vendor colleagues as well, right? Show them unrivaled hospitality too. You should always show up in service of your fellow vendors. Then after every ceremony, I reach out to the coordinator and the photographer because those are my two sort of primary collaborators. And I ask where they would benefit from having me leave them a rave review, because we all have to help each other, right? And because 99% of the time, they'll offer to leave you a good review too. It's a pro move. Now, every time I physically enter a space as a professional officiant, I show up with the intention to be of service to everyone I encounter. Whether it's the florist or the father of the bride, everyone is deserving of hospitality. And again, I'm there to make memories. And if you're making a last impression on couples or their guests or fellow vendors, you know what will happen? They're going to talk about you and people will hear about you, because how you show up is also how you market yourself. So returning to, let's see, now that we've switched everything off, everything's a little jumbled. Here we go. So both who you are virtually and in person is your brand identity, okay? Whether you do it intentionally or not, we're always self-promoting, and unrivaled hospitality should be at the center of it all. These are the three marketing mainstays. All of these three marketing mainstays advertise the one invaluable thing that couples should come to realize they need in order to make their marriage ceremony spectacular. And that is you, right? If you give these three principles some serious thought, if you fold them into your business, you will stand out. That's how you be a maverick in your marketplace. So I'll leave you with this quote from Alok Vaid Menon, who's a gender non-binary poet, comedian, and public speaker who says, "Find your beauty and become a publicist for it. Represent it everywhere you go." So in other words, find your one cool thing, embrace it, and share it with the world. So that's my brief little spiel for today. Here is my info. I'll pop over back into this, and if I lag again, we can hop off. But thanks everyone for listening and giving me a little of your time today. And I'm looking forward to whatever discussion comes out of this and whatever thoughts everyone has.
Awesome, Nico, that was amazing. Thank you so much. So we will now open things up for questions from the audience. So if you guys have a question for Nico, you can either raise your virtual hand and we'll call on you, or if you open up the Q&A tab and type your question in the panel there, we will get to it. You can also just type your question into the chat and we'll keep an eye out there. Nancy wanted to know if there is somewhere that you can they can watch a video of you performing a ceremony for those of us who aren't totally familiar with your style.
Sure. Yes and no. So when couples and ask me that same question, I do have a page on my website that is not publicly accessible, but there is a link for it that has like 4 different ceremonies that I have officiated. I have a love-hate relationship with the wedding video, right? I'm sure as many of you know, they're not all made equal. We don't have quality control of how those turn out. And we also don't get to edit how they're presented to the couple and thus what we can show to our prospective couples. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I find that most couples these days opt not to have videos. So I end up with very few videos. And then from those videos, even fewer that I feel good about and that I feel represent my style really well. So the answer to your question is yes, but something that I've been doing more recently to show my style while not necessarily needing the videos to present to people is on my social media when I post about a wedding that I've done. It's usually like the little movie I've made from the wedding day that I've cut together. In the caption, I will actually take excerpts from the ceremony to give anyone reading really the sense for like my writing style, my sense of humor, the tone, how that relates to the couple, how it's personalized to them. And that way I can kind of direct people to my Instagram account instead of necessarily needing the videos so that you can get some sense of me. I know that there are officiants who adamantly do not share videos with prospective couples, mostly because those ceremonies are also very personal to those couples, and so also to sort of protect, you know, their privacy. Some officiants just don't want to do that. So, yeah. Anyway, if you want to reach out to me personally, I'll send you that link, and you can check out some of my videos. I'm happy to share that with you.
Okay, great. And then we had Donna in the question and answer section. How do you calm the nerves of the couple and yourself?
I like the nerves. I don't know, like I have a performance background, so like I get a little jittery right before the ceremony starts, and I actually like I like that because there's not a lot of time when you get that kind of like performance anxiety. Um, so I lean into that as soon as I start. That usually goes away. The best way that I'll start with me first before talking about the couples, but the best way that I calm my jitters is preparation. I come to every ceremony having practiced the script that I've written for myself. I'm fairly familiar with it, and I have a checklist that I go over ahead of time, and then I go through ahead of the ceremony. I check in with the photographer, the DJ, the planner. I make sure everything's set for the ceremony so that by the time the ceremony starts, I've checked everything off. I've made sure that everything is where it's need to be, and I can feel calm that everything has been prepared in advance. And then the ceremony just gets to be the fun part, right? The performance part, the memory creation, experience creation part. So that's what I do. Preparation, and then kind of just enjoying in the moment. And also don't feel like everything has to go perfectly, right? Like we're all human. So I try to create a relaxed environment during their ceremony. And to just like make fun of the mistakes and things that come up in the moment. Like let's obviously a marriage is important, but like not all the proceedings have to, you know, be taken so seriously that we can't have fun. And then calming the nerves of the couple. I mean, there are some couples who have told me that it would make them more relaxed if they know what I'm going to say ahead of time, right? So they would like to read my script. And my number one priority for any couple is their experience. So I want them to be relaxed. I want them to be present and to be able to enjoy the moment. So I prefer not sharing the script ahead of time, but if a bride or a groom really wants to, I'll do that if it makes them, if it calms their nerves, right? I prefer not to because every wedding day is planned down to the minute, and you know that couple knows everything that's going to happen, and so I encourage them to at least give themselves 20 to 30 minutes to not know what's going to happen during the ceremony or what I'm going to say, and to be able to just live in the moment. And even that, I think once the ceremony starts, that tends to calm their nerves too. But I also spend a lot of time getting to know my couples ahead of time so that by the time we get to the ceremony, they know me, we're giving each other hugs, even if we've only ever met over Zoom. When I arrive, they feel, you know, they feel like I'm a friend, and that can kind of calm their nerves too. So it's also a question of what your process is in getting to that wedding day.
Makes sense. Awesome. So we did have a question from Nancy following up from her previous question. Do you offer training or mentorship opportunities?
I do. I offer coaching. I offer officiant coaching for like, you know, first, second time officiants usually. Um, but mentorship is something that I would definitely be, I could definitely provide as well. It's not something that I'm like, I publicly advertise, but absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. So there you go, Nancy. Let's see. It looks like Edgar has his hand up, so let's see if he will talk. We're gonna go ahead and ask him to unmute. So Edgar, whenever you can, just unmute.
Nico, first off, I want to say, man, love the personality, love the energy. I'm just enamored at what you actually bring in. Is so inspiring. By the way, I did go ahead and follow you on the IG, so you know I'll be actually following your exploits as you go along. I am somebody who is kind of just like you. I love to be get that connection, get that vibe, get the couple actually feeling like they, you know, they are there and that moment is theirs. My question, sometimes you come into rooms and or the venue and well, okay, 99% of the time, the atmosphere is going to be pretty good. You know, you're walking in there, you got that energy, but there's that 1% of that time where you might walk in and it's like, okay, it's a wedding or a funeral. How are you on icebreakers? And what's an example of one of your best icebreakers? Well, not one of your best, but one of your favorite icebreakers.
Yeah. So something that I do that I usually have to go over with coordinators and planners ahead of time because it's not what they're used to, and working with a lot of like friend and family member officiants, is once everyone's lined up and ready to go for the processional, I always say that I come out first before the processional even starts. So I come out, I welcome everybody. Any announcements that need to be made, right? Like planners always want me to say like where cocktail hour is, or where the reception is going to be, or where family are supposed to meet for photos after the ceremony, all that stuff. I do all that stuff at the top because I think doing it after the ceremony kills the vibe, right? Like I want everyone to leave the ceremony going into cocktail hour on a high. I don't then want to like go through a list of announcements after we've had that experience. So I do that at the top. But doing that at the top also allows me to sort of set the tone for everything that's going to happen, and to set expectations too from like all the guests who are present. So if like you're saying, I know what you mean, where it's like the tone's a little somber, or you know, there's been some emergency with the couple ahead of time. I was at a wedding once where someone in the wedding party grabbed the wrong bag of suits from the hotel room, and so like that arrived and they were in the wedding party in the processional, and their like suits didn't fit. Like their suit was like super tight, and the other guy's suit was like, you know, he was like swimming in it. And that like became a big thing. There wasn't time to go back and fix it. So we go into the ceremony, everyone's like feeling really tense. I think the fact that I come out first, it allows me to kind of, the first thing I do is I kind of say, I was just at the Garland on Friday. So I was like, Good evening, everyone. You know, we're about to get things started here at the Garland, which means I have a very important question to ask all of you. Are you ready to help, you know, John and Jane get married tonight? And I get everyone saying like, yeah, and like cheering. And even if there's not like a big audience response, I get people involved from the beginning, right? And then I introduce who I am. And I just started doing something this year that's a little different that I didn't do last year, which is I tell everyone up front that I'm a professional wedding officiant, that I have a background in romantic comedies. And to commemorate the couple's wedding day, I'm now going to share their romantic comedy with all of you. And I'm like, does that sound fun? And that usually gets everyone really excited. And I do that for two reasons. One is because I'm passionate about promoting all of us as professional officiants. And I want people to leave that wedding knowing that professional officiants exist and that we should be hired and that we create these kinds of experiences, right? And the second is because it gets everyone excited about the ceremony that's about to happen, right? So I've now created an expectation of who I am and what I'm going to do for everyone during the ceremony and how, you know, this ceremony of this couple is going to be framed through the lens of romantic comedy, and we're going to have fun telling their story. And so then after the processional, from the moment I say, please be seated, to when we start the ceremony, everyone's leaning in a little bit and they're kind of already excited about what I'm going to say. And I think that that kind of helps set the tone. And to sort of address what you said about like how sometimes you just got to turn things around or the vibe's a little off at the beginning.
Okay, fantastic. So let's see, we've got a question from Teresa. Do you ever leave or give a gift to your clients, and does it have your contact information on it if you do?
Yeah, so every wedding I go to, I have cards. I wonder if I actually have some there that I can like show you all. So I have these cards, and underneath is a quote. I've got like 4 of these with 4 different quotes. And there's a quote from a movie or a rom-com that I think is like particularly funny or poignant or romantic. And based on who the couple is and what their vibe is I pick which quote to give them. And then I sign the back. I write them a personalized message. And on the back, it says, like, I even wrote, if you loved your ceremony, please refer your favorite engaged couple to me and I'll offer them 10% off. See you at the wedding. Right. So it's a little also promotional thing that I leave behind. I give friends and family who are at that ceremony a discount if the couple wants to share that with them. But most importantly, I write a personalized note to the couple, thanking them for inviting me, letting me be a part of their ceremony. And I leave that in the card box because there's almost always, you know, a card box for couples at the ceremony. So it's a little leave behind for them. I do also give the couple a copy of the ceremony because I wrote it for them. It is their story. I spent a lot of time getting to know them, and I want them to be able to like relive that on their anniversaries, to read through that script, to recall the memories from the ceremony. So I give them those 2 things. And in terms of the contact information, the couple already has my contact information, so I don't really need to give that to them. But I do always have business cards with me after the ceremony as well, so that if when I'm, you know, mingling or getting the marriage license signed and before I take off, if anyone stops me or would like a card, I always have one of those available, and obviously that has my contact information on it.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's see, Nancy kind of had a related question. So do you always write the entirety of the script that with the info they give to you, or do they come with their own sometimes?
I almost always write it entirely myself. This last wedding that I just did, it was a multi-faith kind of multicultural ceremony, and they had their own version of very traditional rituals that they wanted to do during the ceremony. So they actually sent, and it's kind of the only time it's happened, where they sent me specific copy and wording for how they wanted some of those rituals to go. Because like I said, it's like they kind of did their spin on it. And so that felt personal for them, and they wanted me to incorporate that into the ceremony. But then it was on me to figure out how to fold and weave that into the ceremony that I had written for them and that I had structured for them. But usually my process is depending upon what package people buy, I offer packages mostly because, you know, people want to have options. But my kind of like my standard package, what I'm known for, is after a couple books me, I send them a questionnaire that's just about the ceremony. It's just about like the basic traditions or tenets of the ceremony. What do they want to keep? What don't they want to keep? so that it kind of allows me to get a sense for what they're envisioning, what the structure might be. I have 3 meetings with the couple. The first meeting is, I call it the meet cute. It's I get to know them a little bit. I ask them some boilerplate questions, and then we go through that questionnaire and we really just focus on the ceremony. And then I do one-on-one meetings with each member in the couple individually. So I do that because that's where I do my kind of like romantic comedy research, because then I ask, like, well, tell me about the first date, and what were your first impression of them, and who asked who on the second date, and, you know, how are you feeling, and, you know, when did you know that you had fallen in love? All those questions I do one-on-one because it allows me to quote them and to really focus on their individuality within the relationship, and to build that kind of he said, she said, they said romantic comedy banter of a difference of maybe memory or difference of perspective. And there's always humor that can be mined from that. So I take all of that and I write their ceremony with it, in addition to any other rituals or things that they want to do based on all the conversations that we've had.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see, we've got Dana. You had mentioned earlier 10% off. So what should people be charging for their services, or how did they go about pricing?
That is a great question. So I talked a lot about, you know, your individuality within your marketplace today. And I think pricing has a lot to do with your market. And it also has to do with your individuality. I think it's those two things. So if you are in like a rural area of the country, you probably can't charge $1,500 for a ceremony if there's just like, if you just don't have the market for people who are going to pay for that. On the other hand of things, I'm in Los Angeles, right? So there are a lot of really expensive big weddings. But there are a lot of us professional officiants in Los Angeles. So you also can't price yourself so high that you are like, no one's going to hire you because it's like, you know, crazy. So there's a national standard. I think the national standard is too low. I think in general, we all should be pricing ourselves higher, because I think we all need to be promoting the value that we add to ceremonies and how invaluable we are to creating, you know, a truly unrivaled and memorable ceremony experience. That's something that obviously I'm passionate about, is like a rising tide lifting all ships. So I do think the national average is low. I think everyone should probably price a little bit higher than what you think you should be. Right now, I charge $9.99 for a ceremony in Los Angeles. I think I'm priced too low, and I'm going to raise my prices again later this year. I'm constantly pushing the threshold for what I think people will pay. And I think that's something that everyone needs to experiment with a little bit in their market. It's like, I think I encourage everyone to find their ceiling. I'm still in the process of finding the ceiling, but I do know that I charge the same as many of, you know, people that I look up to in this industry who've been doing it for 10, 20 years. I'm already charging what they charge, because I also think that I do something that's different from everybody else. The amount of customization, the fact that I put a romantic comedy spin on it, the fact that I'm an award-winning writer, I can advertise all of that when I set my rate, even though I've been doing this for less time. I do still think that I bring that value. So it's a lot about how you market yourself. It's a lot about what is your one cool thing, right? Like, what is that thing that makes you weird? And how is it that you stand out from everybody else? And then, yeah, what is your market? So there's not, I don't have like a perfect, like, you should be charging this, because it depends on where you are in the country and it depends on what you're offering. But in general, I think we should all be pricing ourselves a little bit higher as we kind of lift the reputation of all professional officiants.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. Dana had a follow-up question to tack onto that question. So she asked about a national average. You have an approximation of what that would be, or does it really depend on your?
I can't remember if it's like $4.99 or $5.99, but I think it's like one of those. I want to say it's maybe like 500. I know that it's low. It's tough, right? Because we're all competing against free. But I think the crusade that I am on is educating people and educating wedding planners that they should be recommending us, that like asking your friend or family member to officiate isn't necessarily what makes your ceremony special or feel personal, right? Like a really good officiant can get to know the couple, understands weddings, understands the culture, understands how to be a vendor for you, how to take things off your plate, how to coordinate with other vendors, how to provide a service. I think people don't necessarily see everything that goes into being an officiant. So that's part of our job too, is just like, you know, again, going back to unrivaled hospitality. That's where the unrivaled hospitality comes in. It's like creating a reputation for what all officiants are, so that we all kind of rise together within this industry and work towards becoming a vendor that is a no-brainer, like hiring a florist, like hiring a coordinator. You know, I want wedding officiants to be on that list. I did a wedding, I think a few weeks ago, where, you know, I get the list of vendors from the wedding planner, and there's like the photographer and the videographer and hair and makeup. And then at the bottom of the list, after photo booth, after table linens, after other inanimate objects, was me. And like, that's a problem, right? Like I always say the ceremony, the reception is the what, but the ceremony is the why. People come to a wedding to see the couple get married. We create the experience for which everyone is there to bear witness to. Like that, you know, I'm not saying it's the most important part. You know, it's up to a couple to decide where they want to put their money and like why they're getting married. But like, if you're not eloping, and if you are asking guests to come to your wedding, then you're asking them to see you get married. So the ceremony should kind of be a highlight, if not the center point, and it's our job to make that memorable, to make it the center point. And the more we do that, then I think the more we also gain respect within the industry.
Great. Okay, so we've got time for a few more. We've got 3 in the Q&A queue, so we'll try to get those before our time is out. But the next one is from Donna. So when it comes to signatures, do you want to get the couple to sign right after the pronouncement, or do you chase them down afterwards? How do you get it from them?
Well, I mean, I communicate with the coordinator ahead of time that it needs to be scheduled into their itinerary, that like we after the ceremony, I always like to give the couple, you know, at least 5 minutes, if not 10 minutes, to just be off by themselves, to sort of bask in the glow of being newlyweds. And then, you know, I can wrangle their witnesses if I know who they are ahead of time, and we can go meet them in the bridal suite or wherever they'd like to sign the marriage license. But I do humbly request with the planner, coordinator, and photographer that before anything else is scheduled after the ceremony, we get the paperwork done first, especially before the couple gets pulled away to start taking family photos. Because once I lose the couple to family photos, I'm stuck at that wedding for, you know, 30 to 60 minutes, and I can't go home, right? So I would like to avoid that. So but I also just want to get the business done, because I don't want to be hanging around and bothering the couple and reminding them that they've got to sign paperwork. Like, I'd rather just get that done as soon as the ceremony is over. So be in communication with the other vendors, and if the couple does not have other vendors, if it's something small, then just coordinate with them. Just have that open line of communication and just tell them like, hey, we have to, you know, I have to sign this after the ceremony, and let's just schedule a little bit of time immediately following the ceremony to just get this done. Again, it goes back to like the question about how do you minimize jitters. It's like preparation. Do all this stuff in advance, have everything set up, know what the plan is going to be. Kind of don't leave anything to chance, like running around on the ceremony trying to wrangle things and details that weren't planned ahead of time. Just like get it all done ahead of time.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a question from Veronica in the Q&A. How long is an average ceremony? She also has her hand up, so I'm going to allow her to talk really quick. Veronica, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, my question is, how long is you take for the ceremony? You start doing the couples, the speech. Like, how long is it about?
Yeah, so
I don't know. Like, What is the recommendation for you?
Yeah, I think the ceremonies that I do, including the processional and the recessional, about 20 to 30 minutes. I think land in the 20 to 30 minute spot. I know there are officiants who like 15 to 20 is their sweet spot. My sort of like the processional, my sort of welcoming remarks, my intro, my telling of their story, that usually gets us to about 10 minutes. And then after that, it's any other unity rituals the couple wants to include. Are they sharing personal vows, which, you always got to factor in some time for how long those are going to be. And then whether they're exchanging rings, and then obviously, hearing their I do's. All that adds time. So that's why in that first session with my couples, I go over all of that so that I get a sense for what the structure and timeline of the ceremony is going to be. And then I can work within that framework to make sure that we're not going too long or falling too short of anything. So my sweet spot is between 20 and 30 minutes usually.
Okay, great. Thank you, Veronica. So this one's from Shannon. She's thinking of expanding her business, and up until this point has not been doing it officially as an LLC or anything. She now has an LLC and is ready to expand, but is a little stuck at the point to see what she would do about invoices and keeping up with the financial records, paying taxes, etc. Can you give any advice on how to achieve those things without spending a fortune on how you learned those things for your business?
Yeah, opening an LLC, my advice is wait until you have enough regular incoming business to be able to afford that LLC, right? So when I first started, I didn't open an LLC. You can also have a DBA, a doing business as, where you don't necessarily have to open a corporation. You can just have, I believe you can still get an EIN if you have a DBA, and you can just sort of operate personally. You can open a business account without needing to open an LLC or an S Corp or anything like that, because those are going to be expensive, because those come with annual fees and startup costs. And yes, the accounting is more expensive. So make sure you're at a point in your business when you need that, when you have enough incoming business that now, for tax reasons, and even just like the paper trail and accounting, like you need an LLC. You might not necessarily need that yet. You can just operate as a DBA. The other thing to consider when operating as a DBA is obviously income taxes that you're going to owe as a DBA. So that's a personal decision that you need to make, and how you want to grow your business, how you want to manage and organize your business. I always recommend having an accountant. I'm not very good at that stuff. That's why accountants exist. So work with an accountant, and also consult with an accountant, because they can give you advice on this too. They can kind of look at your numbers from your business and tell you, if you're ready to incorporate, or if, doing a DBA and having enough write-offs is a good enough position for you to function for now. That just sort of depends on how you want to grow and how you want to manage sort of the back end.
Okay, and I think we have time for just one last question here. Holly really quickly wanted to hear about what type of mic do you use, and do you coordinate with the band on that, or is it freestanding speaker?
Yeah, so I don't own my own microphones. I would like to. I'm working on it. I'm building up to that. Right now, it's not a necessity. It's not an expense that I feel like I need to make, because there's always audio provided, almost always by the DJ, and if not, then the venue. And again, going back to preparation, that's like my number one question that I go over with either the coordinator, or if the venue has a site rep who's coordinating, is who is providing audio, and what kind of audio is it, and do they have a backup microphone? Because I always want to make sure that there are two microphones during that ceremony at all times. I use a handheld microphone, a wireless handheld microphone. I don't use a mic stand. And that's what I prefer. I don't want to be tethered to anything. I've enjoyed doing some ceremonies with just a headpiece where my hands are free. If I were to buy a microphone, that's what I would buy, is just as a headpiece microphone, because those are rare. A DJ doesn't usually provide that for you. It's almost always a handheld mic. So if I were to purchase my own mic and I got a headpiece, then I could come to the ceremony prepared, knowing that they almost always have a cordless handheld microphone. And then I could, I could bring my headpiece microphone so that I could then decide what I want to do. Sometimes it's nice to have a microphone in your hand because you can kind of use it for emphasis. But if there's a ceremony with a lot of rituals, a lot of business, where you don't want to have like, I read all my ceremonies off this mini iPad, right? So I have this in my hand and a microphone in the other hand. And sometimes there's a lot of business and you're doing this and it gets a little, so sometimes having your hands free is the way to go if there's a lot going on during the ceremony.
That makes sense. Yes. Okay, well, that sounds about all the time we have now. So thank you so much, Nico. That was fantastic. And just so everybody knows, a recording of this event will be available on YouTube in the next few days, so keep an eye out for that. If you enjoyed your time here today, consider attending one of our live events with the Officiant Accelerator. Officiant Accelerator is a traveling education and networking seminar by AMM in partnership with IAPWO. And we have upcoming events in Houston, Salt Lake City, San Francisco, New York, and Columbus, Ohio this year. So tickets are available at the AMM store or on the Officiant Accelerator website at officiantaccelerator.com. But as we head out, Jessica did add a link in the chat to connect with you more online, and there's more resources for your officiant business. So be sure to check that out and grab the link before you go. But thanks everybody for showing up, and thank you so much, Nico, for a fantastic presentation. You guys have a great evening.
Thanks, everyone.